So we're back again with the second part of the video. Now, I was going to show you how I did the first one on the second one I was making, using a rod which is suspended in between the two sides of this brass ring. However, I've come up with an even easier way of doing it. Here's the second one finished, and how I've done it is, rather than drilling a hole, if I get a pointer, a pencil, rather than drilling a hole in the middle between the gap there on both sides, I've come up with an even easier way of keeping those two halves from closing when you close in the nip screw. And I've done that from my shoemaking bits and bobs. I have some really thick, really ductile sole bend. Basically that's the thickness of a hide. That one there's about 5mm thick, and luck has it that it's exactly the right thickness which was left in between those two jaws. And what I've done, I've just cut a slither and then to length and slid it down and in underneath that ring, and that's the job done. So actually I can take that to pieces and well, no need to actually. I can just pop the little, I zoom in a little, I can pop the little piece of leather. As you can see, it's there peeping in underneath, and it's just set in between, and it's quite tight. It's pushing up against the bottom of the brass ring itself. So that's it really. Rather than going to the trouble of drilling and tapping a piece of bar like I did for my first one, just use a piece of leather. So that's the two items finished. They both work equally as well, and they'll come in handy when I start doing a lot more jewellery work this winter time. So as you can see, that's finished. If I tap the bolt out of it, you can see inside there there's a spring in the middle there, and the piece of leather in between there, you can just see it. Come in handy, those little orange nip screws. You can use a normal wing nut, but it's a lot harder to undo. Something this size is much easier, and it's a pleasure to use actually, rather than using a small wing nut to hurt your fingers. So I haven't put any leather in between here, because what I'm going to do, I'm going to make some leather socks that go over the top, slide over, which I haven't made yet. I've got some leather here to do it. I'm just going to make two little neat hand stitched basically rings to slide over there, and then it saves all the trouble of cutting out a jaw in the wood there, recess for the leather to go into. And with it being a ring that goes all the way around, as it wears, you can turn the ring, turn the leather around as it's going. That's just another idea I've come up with. I'll stitch that by hand, make some little rings to go over the top, and I can actually turn those rings as they wear. So that's my version of the ring clamp. They're made out of lignum vitae, which is very strong timber, and they're quite heavy actually. They're a nice feel in the hand. So I'll just pause the video a second and I'll show you another couple of things. I've just been up into the workshop and got you some things to look at. What else I've been making is, you saw these two sanding sticks I made last week. I did a square one and a round one, and I've made another slightly larger round one, this time out of partridge wood, and that's the most spectacular timber, and it's so hard, much harder than oak, or even harder than lignum vitae actually. So I made another one in between round. I might make another in between square one yet, I'm not quite sure. And the other thing I made was a burnishing point. That's 10mm silver steel or tool steel, which I hardened using the same process as I showed you earlier. And I've got a nice desert ironwood or ironwood handle on there, and turned it to give it a little bit of a pleasing shape, and that fits in the hand. So if you're burnishing up against any silver, you can grasp it and burnish the edge of, you know, rings or bezels and this kind of thing. And when you burnish it, you get a much superior finish to even on the polisher, because it rubs the edge. I don't know whether you'll be able to see it, but you get a really lovely finish on the edge, which glints back, as you can see there. You can see it glinting, and you can't beat the burnishers. I'm going to make a couple more of these, different shapes and different sizes, because I didn't have any before, and as it's a learning process for me. I'm not a jewellery expert yet, and it's I'm learning as I'm going. So that's very welcome tools which you didn't have before. I know you can buy these for roughly for £3, £4, £5 a piece, but these ones are nice. I made them out of some exotic timber, and they're mine. So I think that's I've covered everything now, and the toolkit now is building up. One of the next things I'm going to make is a third hand system. Now you can get them from well-known companies, and they're well-known prices basically, you know, up into the hundreds of pounds. I'm going to make something a little bit different, using a different mechanism for the pivoting arms and things. So that will be another one of my projects to come. And just before the end of summer, I'm going to start making the hands-free reciprocating piercing saw, which was one of my videos earlier as well. I'm going to get that. I'm going to draw it out in SolidWorks. Well, I've already drawn it out in SolidWorks. I'm going to get that laser cut. It's relatively there's a company I've found that does one-offs. They'll give you a quote over the phone, and the initial quote was quite pleasing. It's well within my budget, so that'll be another tool that I'll be making soon as well. So all in the fullness of time, and I've saved myself quite a bit of money already by making all these things. So once again, thank you all for watching. Bye for now.